Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Ah, we're here today on February the 4th, 2022. I'm excited to be alive. I'm excited to have my incredible son Jeremiah with me. And welcome to SMART, the acronym Sports, Music, Art, Recreation, and Technology. How you doing today, son? Looking good, man. Looking good, man. Um, Yeah, we had a good start. We had over 1,000 people check out the initial show. Right now we're on live, and it didn't promote it the way I did last week, so I'm not sure how many people are going to be on with us. But I look forward to having people join us. Looking forward to some people joining us on the live. We're going to go through sports, music, art, recreation, and technology. This is just like a place where guys can just gather, or females, or whoever wants to join in and we'll chop it up about some things. We just topics. We just some light topics. We can take it easy, have some fun with things that are on our heart regarding sports, music, art, recreation, and technology. You know, um, I hope your Friday, I hope your week was awesome, and that your weekend is just as awesome or even more. Um, so without further ado, let's start it. So this week we're going to discuss the state of the NBA. The trade deadline it ends on February 10th, which is my late mother's birthday, so it's kind of special to me. Um, certain teams are looking to move certain players, and there's a lot on the line going. As we get near All Star game, that's when they start to gather and really start to politic with each other, player to player. And but February 10th is the trade deadline. And your favorite team right now is who?
It was the
It
Lakers.
was the Lakers. Yeah, you're more loyal to LeBron than to a team, right? Yeah, that's how it is. I understand, today when the people are not as because we were forced back in the day. We didn't get a lot of national games, and then when we did, they were tape delayed. And even our local games were tape delayed. So it was a pension, especially as the NBA grew. You ended up having a lot of. I like the Sixers because I'm a Dr. J fan. Dr. J from Long Island, so I love Dr. J. So I love the Sixers and I love the Nets because of Dr. J. But then Bernard King came in, and there was really a love that I have for the Knicks, and it stuck. Mark Jackson, Patrick Ewing, and all of that. So, but coming up to trade deadline, what are some of the things the Lakers you think they need to do to improve? Because they're kind of on the edge. They're kind of on the edge whether as to whether they'll be uh, a successful. I think once they get into playoffs, their seniority and their experience will be a blessing. But right now, they play defense.
Probably sell the entire team.
Whoa, that's drastic. No, you can't do that. I'm talking about something realistic.
They're bad. I'm gonna like sell them and like trade almost every person on that. That's bad.
You're frustrated.
Only a
You're frustrated. Frustrated.
It's like
But
LeBron. Like I can't. I'm like mine. Like like
he's not bad. Yes, sir.
AD, he's inconsistent. Like his inconsistency is hurting the team way more than it is helping. It's been like that for the past 2.5 years.
Oh, okay. Well, the big thing that people talk about with the Lakers is the player Russell Westbrook. And one thing I'll give Russell, no matter what, no matter whether the shots are falling or not, he's going to play hard. He's going to play hard. I got to give him that. Not always on defense, but he's going to play hard. He's going to play hard. My Knicks, though, we got there's some moves we need to make. and we just acquired Cam Reddish, and you know, our off-season pickups are not really doing what they are doing what I expected, to be honest. But if you know anything about me, my preference is a more athletic player. So um, I was shocked we didn't go after DeRozan. I was actually shocked. It was like, easy pickings. He kind of goes with what we already have, and he's stability. He brings the stability because he's not a 3-point shooter. Everybody's so in love with just everybody being a 3-point shooter. When you do need people to threaten the paint, and a more athletic player to threaten the paint. And I think that's without wings you can't fly. You know what I mean? And you need wings. Even going back to Jordan and Pippen and Kobe and when Kobe was on the team, they had Horry and they had Harper. You have to have wings. You have to have wings, and we lack athletic wings. We have good wings. I like RJ. I'm a little biased with RJ because I went to college with his dad. I remember sitting down talking to him a few times, but um, I'm biased. I like RJ, right? I like Cam. I like Obi. I like Obi, and and it seems that every time he's in the game, they start making a push, but he gets benched real quick. Like one mistake and he sits. But that's starting to change. I hope it does continue to change. Um, we don't have anybody on joining us right now, but um, um, I think people are talking about the Knicks needing a point guard. I think we might actually have one in Grimes. I'm not Grimes in McBride. He's just young. He's killing the G League right now. He's killing. And he just needs an opportunity. And then we have someone coming back who always stabilizes us, Derek Rose, who was a former MVP. Still, even without the elevation he had, he still has that drive, and he's still that type of leader that allows old guys to feel stable and young guys to thrive. So when he comes back, I think we'll see a different type of ball. Of course, the big disappointments have been Julius Randle. Julius Randle, not just his play, but his leadership. The pouting, the turning against the fans, that sort of thing doesn't sit well in New York, and hopefully it's short lived, and he makes a turnaround. I pray he makes a turnaround. Otherwise, if you can listen to a lot of the YouTube channels like Knicks Fan TV and Blanche Tears and Nothing But Knicks, um, the hue and cry is for him to be traded. What do you think? What do you think?
Um, Kemba Walker is a requirement. Like I heard that he's been a very big disappointment for the Knicks so far throughout the course of the year. We're expecting him to come in and start scoring a lot, putting a lot of assists up.
Yeah,
But I heard he's been lacking on defense and on offense.
right. We were watching Russell Wilson throw the ball around on I think on the NFL Network. I guess they have some quarterback challenge, and he's throwing dimes. He's very accurate. So yeah, Kemba Walker has been uh, not the same, especially since he hurt his knee. He hasn't been really come back from that the way he could. Every once in a while he put up a 40, but he right now he can't check a yes or no box. You know, it's um, feel for the brother because I love the brother coming back home to New York. I want him to succeed, but he might not be here. But I hope it is here. But I want him to succeed. He's throwing dimes, man. And there's some people who are accurate, and there's some people just real accurate. And Russell Wilson's one of them. So yeah, we want to jump off of NBA. Is there anything else in the NBA that you could think of? Because I can go into some other things. Like We talked about the trades, but the draft is going to come up because the teams right now you're determining whether you're going to go all out to make the playoffs. You have 10 positions to make the playoffs, or whether you're going to put on the fatigues and pull out the tank.
Where did the Knicks rank?
Huh?
Where did the Knicks rank?
Right now, the Knicks I think are in 11th. Let me look it up. Let me tell you in a second. Um, yeah, let me look it up. I think the Knicks are in 10th or 11th in descending because they keep losing.
Well,
12th. Okay, they're in 12th now, so they went down a spot from what I remember. And you got to make the top 10 to even make the playing games. So if we don't, we'll be in the lottery, but the high lottery. So it's like it runs into some decisions. Sometimes Thibodeau, who won the coach of the year last year, he sometimes he's stuck in an older pattern of how to operate. That you give preference to the vets, assuming that they give you the best chance to win. But the assemblage of the vets that they had, it's almost like Leon Rose intentionally put this group of vets together to force Tibbs to play some of the young guys, because you cannot say that Quentin Grimes and Obi and IQ are not some of the top players on the Knicks and deserve a lot more run. Um, and then you got the other young guys, like I just said. McBride the other day scored 39 or 40 points in the he does consistently, putting up 30 in the G League. So it's not a far cry that he could do well, not maybe not as well, but do well and come up on the big team. He did have when the COVID issue hit the team. He had some really good games for a short stretch, and then when everybody came back, he went back down. I think he's on a two-way contract where part of he's because of his contract, part of the time he has to be in the G League, part of the time he has to be on the main team. So, but he looks good. He looks good. He looks good. He looks good. Okay, so we're done with basketball. Football is a big controversy now. We're in Black History Month, and this time some people look back to history and some people look to make history. And right now you have a gentleman named Flores. Um, yeah, Flores. Um, Brian Flores, the former head coach of Miami, and he really shouldn't be former, because he took a team that wasn't that good and put and made and they did fairly well. But the problem was the owner wanted to tank. He has integrity. Son, no matter what, walk in integrity, right? You can look at yourself in the mirror in the morning when you walk in integrity. Well, right now there's a lawsuit that he's filed against not only the Miami Dolphins uh, but also the New York Giants. I was going to bring my Giants hat out and throw it down on the ground. I was going to do all that. That symbolism really means nothing. Um, the truth is, um, they there's a rule called the Rooney Rule. You know about the Rooney Rule, right? What that is? The Rooney Rule is because there's so few minority head coaches that are given opportunities to even get a job. Those who've been coaching as assistant coaches for a long period of time, who have a track record of doing well with what they do, and they either in the past did not even get an interview at all. Now it's mandatory that anytime there's a coaching position open, they must interview minority coaches. But what they're doing to circumvent is what the owners are doing, to circumvent, and the general managers are doing to circumvent, is they're picking their guy ahead of time, going through the motions with others, really circumventing the Rooney Rule and hiring who they've already picked ahead of time. And uh, that's why when the league is maybe 80% 80% African American. Um, the um, there's only one African American head coach, Tomlin, and he's won a Super Bowl, and he's a great coach. Um, but there are others who have ability to be good to great head coaches who don't get their opportunity. And Flores clearly is a leader of men. You know, you have someone who inspires men to do well. That's not some that that doesn't grow on trees. Those are a rare breed of person. And Flores comes from out of the Belichick tree. They call it a tree. Is when you are an assistant head coach, you go on somewhere else and you become a head coach. You become part of that person's tree. So he's one of the guys who was assisting in New England on the defense. Went to Miami, did a really good job compared to what he could, what the team was in terms of makeup, in terms of talent. They did way better than expected, and really he did better than the owner wanted him to do because they wanted Lawrence. Was it on the Jaguars just went Clemson? Trevor Lawrence. They wanted Trevor Lawrence in the draft, or they wanted Burrow. It was Burrow. Sorry, not Trevor Lawrence. They wanted Burrow. They wanted Joe Burrow in the draft, and LSU was phenomenal. LSU has some really good players. Matter of fact, coming up in the Super Bowl, you're going to see Odell from LSU versus Burrow and Jamar Chase from LSU going against each other. So LSU has some ballers. So they wanted to get Burrow, and wow, they wanted to get Burrow, and the linebacker beat everybody. It's fast. Linebacker from the Cowboys, who the Giants could have picked from Penn State. His name is on the top of my head, but he beat running backs. He beat a bunch of people. He really thinks he runs a 4.3. Anyway, um, the Rooney Rule is to provide opportunity for African Americans, but what they did was they had already hired Brian, what's his name, last name, uh, uh, ending in LL, the Giants' new head coach. And he comes from out of Buffalo. He was their offensive line coach, and I believe their offensive coordinator. He helped turn the quarterback into someone really good. He already had the talent, he already had the tools, but he helped him. So the GM who was just hired comes from there, and I guess he wanted his guy. But what they did is they started setting things up ahead of time, circumventing the Rooney Rule. And what happened is Belichick, probably old school, probably just had Brian in his cell phone, and both guys are named Brian. So he's congratulating Brian for getting the position ahead of time, right? Meanwhile, he thinks it's Brian. Let me make sure I have the new Giants head coach name correctly. Uh, New Giants head coach. Uh, oh, I'm in pictures. That's why. Um, Dayball. Yeah, ending in LL. Um, Brian Dayball got was actually who Belichick thought he was talking to, but he was talking to Brian Flores, and he was texting, and he was congratulating Brian for getting the new position, and he was talking to the wrong person. Meanwhile, Brian Flores hadn't even interviewed yet, so he even put in the text, "I interview on Thursday." After it's funny how they interviewed all the black coaches last. They interviewed Flores on the Thursday. Then they interviewed Leslie, the former coach of the Lions, um, on the Friday. And just after they finished the interview on the Friday, they named Brian Dayball. Now, how could you have those $50 to $100 page, um, those 50 to 100 page documents that are the contracts ready with the numbers and everything ready, um, without talking to the agent ahead of time. So in other words, he was interviewing on Thursday for a job that somebody already had. So he knew he never had a shot at getting the job. So he's suing the Giants, the Denver Broncos, and the Miami Dolphins and the NFL for racism and for circumventing the Rooney Rule because he's clearly one of the top coaches in the country and in NFL, and he was basically played, and he knows it. So that's the Rooney Rule. Okay. Anything to talk about in baseball? I was hoping to have Derek on, and because he had a great question, and we talked about it a little bit earlier. He posted on my Facebook a question, not even a question, a rant on why people are turned away from baseball. You know, a lot of people were talking about steroids and things like that. But you had some interesting points earlier, and things I agree with, and I picked up on right away because those are my a lot of those are my sentiments as well. You talked about the speed of the game. Can you talk to them about uh, why there's a decrease, especially even in the African American community, a decrease in the interest, much less players. We have fewer and fewer African American players playing baseball, um, but even the viewership. You know, I used to play, and that was probably the sport. Not probably that was the sport I played best, right? And I had very little interest in watching it on TV when I used to when I was a kid. I used to watch it all the time, but I have almost no interest in watching it now. So what do you think are some of the reasons for the decline in interest in watching baseball?
Well, well, I think there's two parts towards that.
Mhm.
Like as time goes on, certain sports or things within the world will just evolve and become better over time, such as like football and basketball, two other worldwide phenomenons when it comes to sports, which are way more popular than baseball is now. Those two heavily progressed over time throughout the past, let's say, 50 years.
When you say progress, what do you mean?
The players have gotten better. Like you can visibly see the game changing before your eyes, basically.
When you say better, you mean your term in terms
With
of
like let's say athleticism or
mm,
shooting, or technical skill or technical capability, that you can see that they are getting better over time. Such as the likes of Michael Jordan passing on to Kobe, and Kobe passing on to LeBron. Then, as you can see, there are so many young players right now that are just phenomenal. Look at Doncic, which takes technical skill to a whole new level. Jokic, and then there's certain people like Jalen Green, John Morant that are genuinely insane now. There's things that you see now that you couldn't see, let's say, 100 years ago. When it comes to like Wilt Chamberlain,
mhm,
during his time of basketball playing, there weren't as many athletic people as there were him. Like he was technically one of the only athletic people at the time. Whereas during this time, this day and age, there are people like Zion Williamson. There's a large plethora of people
mhm,
that are able to do what people back then would consider crazy
mhm,
are now. It's more common now.
right.
So when it comes to players, players have gotten more athletic over time.
Mm,
Therefore, watching the games have gotten more interesting, such as the dunk competitions. The dunk competitions over time have gotten crazier and crazier and
mhm,
crazier
right.
to the point where a dunk in between the legs, the reaction we would have 50 years ago would be insane. Whereas now it's just a common dunk that varsity high school basketball players and or in AAU games do. I've seen people on the block do it before. Like it's something that people just do now.
Right.
So we've gotten used to seeing certain things over and over. Whereas basketball and football, they have evolved over time. Players have gotten better. Like you can just see that records are being broken. But yes, in baseball, records are being broken, but it's the same thing. Like
Understood. You're saying that the there is no you're talking about the wow factor. Um, I remember the in baseball the one of the greatest wow factors I had came from a great football player, Bo Jackson. You know, But the thing about the way baseball is designed is that your most athletic plays will come on defense. The diving catches, going up on the wall and catching the ball. Other than that, it'll be stealing a base or running the bases. But running the bases is nothing spectacular about running the bases because even the camera doesn't follow you all the time. Maybe in a replay, they'll follow you, but you're not capturing the speed of the player the way you are because they're following the ball. So it's not as interesting because it's just, like you said, there's a repetition. So
Not to mention the stops within the game of baseball. Like I remember I've tried to get into baseball multiple times, but I just couldn't. And like I went in there with a clear mind, like going, okay, I'm trying to get into this new sport. This is gonna be nice, right?
and you're open minded. I got to give it to you. You like hockey.
Like yeah,
So you're open minded. I give it
look
to
at
you,
something.
right?
When I
But
was looking at it, I had no, I was looking at, oh, this is gonna be bad, oh, this is gonna be great. I just went in and said, okay, I'm gonna judge it off of it being itself, right?
right.
I watched it, I'm like, okay, this is a lot like golf. And I know that's probably gonna offend a lot of people. This is a lot like golf. There's constant stops. There's times where the crowd just goes completely silent, waiting for the person to hit the thing, strike. And then it's like there's times where there's stops and it just gets uninteresting. It's not interesting anymore.
Mm.
So the second part of the whole baseball thing is I think that people like so let's say a certain older folk. I was reading Fences inside English class, and
Mhm,
it was such as the terrible treatment baseball had on black people.
mhm,
Like I'm also watching, I think it was a 42 as well with
mm,
Chadwick Boseman.
mhm,
And it's like the terrible treatment baseball has had on black people over time.
mm.
We've worked so hard to try and please certain white people, like, oh, I'm telling you, we can play with you guys, and then we play with them, and then they still doubt us, and then then they continue doubting us to the point where it's like we have other avenues as to where we can show our talents when it comes to physical attributes such as speed or strength. There's like, why should we use this old tool that was used against us
Mm.
as like why would we use this old tool that was used against us as to where we can use a new tool or new forms of avenues to show that we are just as good as or if not better than the people that you say are better than us.
Understood. Understood. So there was a third thing that was brought up, an interesting conversation on the post that Derek posted, and we'll go into because I don't want to read it until he's on the line with us. But uh, um, a lot of people, no matter what race or creed, were turned off by what's called the steroid era. In other words, there was blatant cheating, and during that steroid era, but there's hypocrisy because the opinion of the sports writers has more power than the fans or the players even in terms of who makes it to the Hall of Fame. Like Barry Bonds was great before he was a Hall of Famer before he was using steroids. Yes, he should be penalized, but the consensus is that certain players who just got in did the same thing. So there's a hypocrisy that turns people off. So that's a third thing. So it's the increase the lack of the slow pace, lack of athletic. Well, you can't say lack of athleticism because back in the day when they used to have that superstars thing when they had the challenge when play against they play against football and baseball, basketball. They a lot of times the baseball players
Yeah,
would
they
be very
yeah.
athletic. They'd be very athletic.
It's like baseball isn't a sport where you can really
Show right,
showcase
right,
anything in athleticism.
right.
Whereas football, like football, you can see tackles, you can see catches, you can see jukes, you can see a whole bunch of
Straight out speed. What's his
yeah.
name? Tyreek Hill.
Mhm.
It looks like everybody else is walking.
Basketball,
He's
you
running.
can see insane dunks, insane shots. Like you can
Just creativity.
yeah, there's creativity within the athletic capability when
Right.
it comes to those sports. Whereas baseball, it doesn't showcase that. It
Right.
doesn't. Well, it doesn't allow the players to showcase that. Like Bo Jackson, extremely athletic. He's able to do the wall run, which I tried doing before. He's able to do the wall run, which is really cool. But it's other than that, there's nothing that can really show the capability of his athleticism other than oh, he can jump really hard, run really fast. Whereas
They throw the
if he
ball
was
from the wall
like
too.
where if he was like on if he played basketball, he'd be able to so do practice a whole bunch of shots and
That was the
dunks.
one sport he wasn't good at. He even admitted he wasn't good at basketball. Yeah. So, anything in boxing now? You think of anything in boxing, MMA, anything that's coming up? 'Cause
Uh, Francis Ngannou just got finished winning his championship, and I heard that he doesn't want to renew his contract with UFC.
oh wow.
So
So what he's gonna what's
I don't know.
he's
He's the
gonna
champ. Like it was I remember I was watching something and was he's a champion and I remember saying that he didn't want to. I don't know if this is true or not, but I remember saying he didn't want to renew his contract with the UFC.
hmm
So I don't know what's gonna happen basically with him being a champion.
hmm
So I don't know. He's probably gonna leave. I also see like certain things about what's his name? What's the one white dude? He just got finished being Deontay Wilder twice.
Oh oh my goodness,
I forget
it's
his
a gypsy,
yeah. He King.
Gypsy King. Oh my goodness, why is his name
T. I think it starts with a T, right?
oh my goodness. And his face is right there. Um oh my goodness. Heavyweight champ. This is beautiful.
Tyson
Tyson
Fury, there
Fury,
you
yeah,
go.
Tyson Fury.
Tyson Fury. I remember seeing Tyson Fury
Mhm.
saying he wanted to go against Francis Ngannou.
Yeah.
But that's the thing about boxers versus like martial artists that really it icks me. It's kind of upsetting. It's like you have to cripple your opponent in order to beat them, and then once you beat your crippled opponent, you go, "I'm better. We're superior fighters." It's just it doesn't seem right to me.
Mm,
Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor. Like there's things inside MMA where you have to learn in order to fight. Like there's leg kicks, there's grappling.
mm,
There's certain things like grappling is very important when it comes to fighting, right?
mhm,
So like there's things that are very important. I always feel like great grappling will always outbeat decent striking or like great striking. Like you have great striking defense, like
mhm,
defending against punches.
mm,
When you add in kicks, knees,
mhm.
elbows, slams, tackles, and certain grapples on the ground, it's a whole different ball game. So then, and I understand boxers do it for their health, but I dislike the whole idea that it's like, oh, we're better than you, but we need to cripple you to beat you. Like that's I don't like that idea. Like it's just that like John Jones. I honestly feel like this. If John Jones, even though he's a terrible, terrible, terrible person, if
Mhm.
he went against
When
Anthony,
you say he's a terrible person, it's just
he's a terrible, but like
what is it about his character? Because you notice these things about people.
he's cheated multiple times.
Ah,
Like he's shot up steroids and stuff. But not just that, he beat his wife. Like like when it comes to certain people that like put their hand go through with putting their hands on their significant other, I can't give that. So
all right.
like but John Jones, if
Mm-hmm,
he went against Anthony Joshua
mm-hmm,
inside like an MMA fight, he'd destroy him. Like
right,
because I remember I didn't really like know how John Jones fought
mm,
before,
right,
but looking at his fights, you can see that even if you went against a boxer, these things are gonna land.
right.
Like these things are going to hurt too, because he does these crazy.
Well, he comes from a very athletic family. His brother
Was
was
he a wrestler?
no, his brother
Basketball?
was a defensive end who led the league in sacks for one
Yeah,
year.
like it,
Yeah, they have a very athletic family. So I'm not surprised that he's super athletic too.
so like
Uh,
where I'm trying to go with that was like
mhm.
what was oh my gosh, try to forget his name.
The
Tyson Fury,
Tyson
sorry.
Fury, yeah.
Tyson. I
Why is he such a
I
forgettable?
haven't seen about him in a while. He's really good. He's a
He's
really great
skilled.
fighter
He's
too.
skilled, and it's because he's so big and skilled.
It's really upsetting because like he tried like going, oh yeah, we have a boxing match with MMA gloves. It doesn't change anything. You're still crippling the dude. Like you're just telling him, no, I don't want you to grapple me at all. I don't want you to slam me. I don't want you to use what you normally use or what you normally train for. I want you to come to my avenue so I can beat you up. And then like let's say the MMA guy loses and goes, okay, can you go to MMA now? It's quiet, it's silent, and it never goes to MMA. I think there was a thing that was going on though.
Well,
It was like a group of MMA fighters going against boxers and MMA. I don't know what happened then. But
you two different disciplines. So really it's apples and oranges, literally. So
Yeah, it's literally apples and
apples
oranges.
and
But I
oranges.
just like when apples choose that I want the oranges to come to apples, fight on the terms of apples, and then go, okay, I want off of the terms of apples. I'm just better than you. I'm not going to the terms of oranges. Nope. Equality. What's that? No, no. We're just gonna
It's always about money, though. So that's why they want to garner interest. That's why YouTube.
focus.
That's why the YouTuber is boxing because David Tyree. I actually spoke to him at a fatherhood event many years ago. Good
It's
guy.
probably because more money is inside is inside boxing, right? Than there is inside MMA.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay, let's shift because we're gonna shift to music now. We'll shift to music now. Um, we both love the drums. We both play the drums. Um, we love music, all different types. Me specifically, if it honors God, if it's the gospel, it could be jazz, it could be reggae, it could be hip hop. I'm gonna love it. Be rock, I'm gonna love it. But what are some of the songs that has a beat? Because beats are the heartbeat of the music, right? Um, what are some of the songs um, that have your favorite beats? What are some of your favorite beats?
There's a lot of
I
songs
know.
like because um since the last time I talked about Childish Gambino, there's Redbone and Me and Your Mama.
Mhm.
Those two are
Say what?
yeah.
That's what I call it.
And then Me and Your Mama. I don't know if you've listened to it before,
You play enough of Childish Gambino. I've heard it. I don't know if I know
but
which one it is,
that
but you
song,
play enough of it
even
already.
though it's not like one of his like underground songs, but that song when it comes to production, you can listen to it and you'll go, okay. It's like I feel like it's a perfect opening to an album.
Right.
Wesley's Theory with Kendrick Lamar and Thundercat. The bass on that is actually it's disgusting. Like I listen to it, and like every time I listen to it while walking.
Mhm.
Um, Thundercat as he's phenomenal. Like the beats that he'll use for a lot of his songs or
Mhm.
his features. Like he recently did one with Silk Sonic. He just adds an extra taste towards his beats, which I really like. There's another producer that I like. I like watching this guy, and his name Monty Booker.
Mhm.
His producing skills are phenomenal. Like every time I make a beat, I end up like watching a lot of his stuff. I'm like, oh, this guy's really cool because he started doing it when he was like around my age.
Right.
It's like, oh, this guy's really cool. And he started making songs with one of his close friends. His name's Smino. He's like a very popular, well, not popular. He's very underrated,
Right.
criminally underrated artist, which I really believe should be popular.
Mhm.
But I like the way he makes beats. I like Kenny beats. He's probably like one of the most popular, if not the most popular, beat maker right now as
Mhm.
well. I like the way he makes the beats because he has a show named The Cave where he takes in a whole bunch of artists and makes beats within like an hour for them and they write their verses and rap on it.
I like Primo. I like Just Blaze. I like in terms of beat making. My favorite is my brother, Jesse. J Matrix, love you, man. Um, um, but I go back. We're here in Roosevelt, Long Island, right? I'm from Lakeview, Earthquake View, and we there's a group called the Bomb Squad. You've heard of them before? Hank Shockley. Um, yeah. They made a lot of the beats that Public Enemy. It changed how music was made back. There was I was watching a documentary on sampling and how sampling changed everything, and rightfully so. You have some of the um, artists that produced the music that went through years and years of training to play music. Um, some of them found on it. Well, you started seeing compilations where some of the newer artists, well, they're not new anymore. They're old school to everybody. But they started working with the other groups. Um, there's a song, "Welcome to the Terrordome," that kind of inspired me when I was making beats. Um, a few of the Public Enemy songs. If you listen to any of our old X Factor stuff, me, Dale, and Gerald, and Joe, and Kendall, and all those guys, and listen to any of our old stuff, you can hear the influence. We would make it even more futuristic. We were forward thinking like that. But layered. I like layered beats. I like layered lyrics. I like well thought out, well planned, um, things like that.
There's I like MF Doom the way his beats are structured. Like it's more like I like the creativity of it. You know, like, the cartoon like playing old cartoons and superhero cartoons
Mhm.
with like like from this old Spider-Man cartoon, which was it came out like in I don't know, the 80s, 90s. Yeah. He uses those instead of a lot of his beats, and I like how they mesh really well together.
Mhm.
I like how he uses them on a turntable. I forgot what other song I was just thinking of.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's songs by him that are just yeah, I really like yeah, like the beat making that he does is just and the variation of the style. I like it. It's like something you can just listen to while walking. I don't know. It's like it fits any occasion that you want to use it for.
Wow, yeah, speaking of beats, let me put on this lo-fi. You always like the lo-fi hip hop beats. The lo-fi hip hop beats are, it's almost like a hip hop version of Watercolors jazz. It's ambient music, almost like you can study to it. You can it's just in the background like this is, and I like the atmospheric. I always told you when I make beats, I wanted to make it cinematic. When I say cinematic, I want it to be almost like a movie, right? Like layered like that, like a movie. Um, but you know, to each their own. People like certain things. There's a lot of stuff, that in different generations don't like. You tell me that I prefer boom bap. I probably do. Yeah, not probably. I definitely do. So that type of beat. And then when it comes to jazz, there's a guy named Quincy Davis. We both drummers. He's down in Texas and he has a YouTube channel and teaches drums. And he's excellent. He's excellent. And there's certain, I'm a super drum fan. Larnell Lewis, Nick Smith. Oh my goodness, so many of them. The Pocket Queen. You ever see the Pocket Queen? She's so happy. Some people who do things are so happy when they do it. Another one is little LJ, the Wilsons, the family. He might be 7 or 8 years old now, and he's one of the most enjoyable drummers to watch. So that's it for beats. Let's move on to art. Okay, now being in Black History Month, the question was on sculpture. I was going to get into that, and since we're going to close in shortly, I'm going to tell you what my favorite sculpture is. My favorite sculpture is the original Statue of Liberty. You've seen the picture of the original of an African woman, a black woman, a free black woman, yeah, that's my favorite. That's my favorite sculpture.
It used to be was it bronze or was it
it is bronze. I think it's bronze or copper. Bronze or copper.
before it became moldy? I like old moldy.
Yeah, yeah. That's my favorite sculpture. That's art. What other art we're going to talk about real quick?
I like street art.
You like street art?
Like street artists. Like I always want to become one. Like I'm on the verge of doing that. I want to become a well-respected street artist.
When you say street artist, define it.
Certain people that do graffiti or like there's let's say a lot of skateboarders that also do.
I knew it was related to skateboarding.
I like street artists. I talked to him about him before, Jean-Michel Basquiat. He's considered like a street artist, like a abstract street artist. Like I like that. There's another person, I forgot his name, King. I forgot his name. I looked him up a couple of days. King Saladin. King Saladin. He's kind of inspired off Jean-Michel Basquiat. He's also a street artist. Like I like people like that.
Well, when I think of street artists, this is completely separate. I remember back when I worked down near the World Trade Center. over, you'd have a guy, he'd come out and he'd draw on the street, and it would look so real, like, like you could fall in the hole. He draw on the street, and it would look so real. Um, I appreciate realism. People who are able to make things look real, and who really that skilled. See, it's one thing to be able to draw it; it's another thing to get the color and the shading right to do that.
I used to do like that a lot. I used to really like realism. I remember one time I talked to one of my friends on the internet about realism and how I used to think that was the best form of art, but then I soon started gravitating towards different forms of art. Like, because I just first started focusing on just drawing something picture perfect, drawing a bird and drawing animals and stuff. And I went, like, okay, I didn't want to be held down to only one form of art. I want to be known as an artist. I want to be known I can do anything. So I just went out and I just started learning how to focus on certain forms of abstract and exaggerating certain people's faces. And then I realized that you're able to portray emotion really well, really well by exaggerating. When it comes to like abstract, you just
Cartooning is that's what cartoons do.
it's like abstract and certain kind of surrealism. Like you're able to create things. Well, opposed to drawing the environment around you or creating something that's around you, you're able to create something, put it out. Like I always find a sketchbook or a canvas as its own separate pocket dimension as to where you're able to create your own world, your own universe. Like that is your world.
Right.
I look at my sketchbooks and I go, that's my world. Wait, like those are my worlds. Like I created those. Like there's certain things that you haven't seen before. He's like, oh, I've never seen anything like this before. Opposed to seeing a realistic tree. You see trees every day. You look at something like he created something. This is something that's truly magnificent.
I'm intentionally not preachy. I'm intentionally not preachy on this show. This show is just fun and sports, music, art, recreation, and technology. And no, we're both tired. That's why I wish we had more people along with us because we're both tired. Yeah, there's a time when you look at art you're most like God when you're being creative. Okay, I said it. Get it out of my system. Okay, recreation. Okay, we don't want to spoil anything, but we're big watching Marvel and Star Wars and movies, all sorts of things, and you try to get me into DC. So you pitch it to me. Why should I watch DC? I'm a Marvel and Star Wars guy. Why should I watch DC? What in DC should I watch? You tell me.
The early Dark Knight series, such as like Batman Begins, The Dark Knight Rises, and definitely those movies with Christian Bale and Heath Ledger and gosh, who's the guy that played Bane? I don't know how I forgot his name, but there's the way that they are able to portray their characters or how seriously they take their characters. Like I forgot this form of acting, but it's where you change your appearance to look like the character that you play, which is something that Christian Bale does a lot, which is what Heath Ledger did, and what is also what Joaquin Phoenix did when he played the Joker. The way they portray their characters is like on a deeper level and I don't like comparing Marvel to DC because they were two different things and they're completely different. But like when it comes to the acting wise, you can see like they don't take it. It's not like as if they take it more seriously than this, but it's like they are connected to those characters. They are the characters. Like Heath Ledger, we looked at him. He wasn't playing. Like he was like, I am the Joker. When he was on the screen, when Christian Bale was
on the screen. Joker, you keep telling me about it.
Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. That's genuinely, like, honestly, I feel like that is the greatest acting I've seen from a superhero movie in my life. Like a genuine. I've seen every MCU film. I've seen every DC film. I have to honestly say that is the greatest acting I've seen. And then this upcoming Batman movie, it looks phenomenal. Like with
You talk about
Robert Pattinson,
oh, you talking about
Batman,
the
which I'm
trailer?
extremely excited for. Like I don't think I've ever been excited
No,
for this.
I guess when I take you to the movies, we'll check it out. We'll see. And you know me. I'm not easily impressed unless there's a strong story,
Because
and unless
they have huge stories. Like
okay.
the Joker is a very strong story, like very, very solid, strong story. Extremely hard to deconstruct and go, this is wrong. But like very articulate. With the Christian Bale Batman movies,
Mhm.
with Christopher Nolan, I think Batman movies,
Mhm.
those ones are these are solid movies with great story and like great action. That's the difference between DC and Marvel, I guess, is because DC is a lot darker, a lot grimmer. A
Mhm.
lot of its stories are have realistic takes on them.
Right.
Whereas before I was talking about art where you're able to create certain things,
Mhm.
it's a very dark take on life. Like whereas if there was a superhero that existed in this on this earth right now, and the crime level was really high with a lot of crime bosses, how would it be portrayed? And it's like it's a very realistic take on a lot of the things that would happen in the world. So the reason I feel like Marvel is a lot more popular than DC is not just because that DC has messed up like a lot of movies, like from the course of 2017 to 2018. They're well, 2017, 2016, I think it was,
Mhm.
to 2018, they were messing up heavily when it came to the movies. But up until they started making the Joker, and once they made the Joker, they started coming back. Um, I feel like it's because it's a lot more serious. Marvel, they tried taking a serious route with like the early folk movie, it was like 2007, I think it was 2008,
Mhm.
and then the 2003 movie they tried portraying him as like some isolated person, but the acting wasn't good. It's like Marvel when they try to be serious, it doesn't get received as well. Like the Eternals, it tried taking a real like not realistic but a heavy toll, like a heavy reaction or to towards the characters, and it didn't get a proper reaction. Whereas Marvel, they started marketing, they started going, okay, let's go after children because that's the most marketable way to get money from them, and let's just go off of a certain form of a normal kind of way to build up a movie. Like but there's like a normal way to build up a Marvel movie.
Mhm.
Like character gets powers, something happens, like something crazy happens, one of their partners die or something.
Mhm.
They work, they grieve, they beat the villain, the end. Sean show shots at the post credit scene. You don't leave the movie theater after the movie's over. You say, oh, okay, so and so's gonna return to the next Marvel movie. Post credit scene, boom, I'm hyped. Now I want to go see the next movie. They do it again. They do it again.
Marketing 101.
They keep marketing it.
Yeah.
So they market it towards children with the comedy.
Or the child and a grown man, like,
It's like it was like as I started growing up, I was like, okay, I'm starting to grow out of a lot of the Marvel jokes. Like I'm starting to grow out of a lot of the Marvel jokes. Okay, what am I going to? I'm going to start looking at some other things. And I started looking at the Joker and looking at certain acting, like actors, and like start appreciating a lot of the acting from a lot of these actors. You don't just see them as like characters, because Robert Downey Jr. Like a lot of these people that like Christian Bale, like it was the difference, right? Christian Bale, you can see him for American Psycho or certain other movies that he was in, like his recent movie where he had to play as what was it? Which president was it? I think it was Theodore Roosevelt. Like I think it's called method acting. When you gain weight, you lose weight for an act. Like he's seen as different roles. Joaquin Phoenix, he's seen as different roles. Like a lot of the actors are seen. Robert Pattinson, he's seen for different roles. They aren't just known for one role. Whereas you think of Robert Downey Jr., you see all these other actors, other than Chadwick Boseman at the MCU, you see them and go, that's Thor. That's Captain America. That's Iron Man. Like they are their characters. Like the second played Chris Evans. The second Chris Evans left Captain America. If he ever goes on to act as something great, I'm going to see him as that great thing. But I'm going to mainly see him as Captain America. Same thing with Tom Holland. He's going to be in the Uncharted. He's going to be playing as Tim Drake, which I love. I love the Uncharted series. But I'm not going to see him as Tim Drake. I'm going to see him as Peter Parker, as Spider-Man. So yeah, it's just the difference.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Love you, man. We're coming down to the end of the show, and we were going to do some technology, but really we did enough. You got to know when when enough is enough. Oh, good catch. Reminds me of gym class. He's already out. NFL players playing dodgeball on NFL Network, playing dodgeball. So with that said, we're going to close. We love you. Dads out there, you see how me and my son have conversations about everything and anything. Though I'm a man of God, we talk about everything and anything. And it's not just the tough stuff that you got to give your son. Of course, we talk about that. That's offline. That's not for your ears. But the joys, you want to share those with your children, right? So this is Further and Fathering. And I pray that you are smart, sports, music, art, recreation, and technology. And I pray that you have a great, great weekend with your family. Catch us next week. We're going to go into the Super Bowl. I don't know if you can say that on YouTube anymore because you don't know what you can say, what you can't say, but the big game, the big game. We're going to talk about the big game, and we're going to talk about some other areas in music, art, recreation, and technology. With that said, we love you. Be excited to be alive, and have a great, great, great weekend. Peace.